Good morning, everybody.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So, welcome to our Safe Online Habits panel discussion. Today, we're having an important conversation about how we can protect ourselves, our families, and our communities in the digital world. My name is Zoe Duncan, a Tier 1 Security Operations Center Analyst here at the Jamaica Cyber Incident Response Team, and I will be your moderator for today. This session forms part of our National Cybersecurity Awareness Month activities, and it's an especially meaningful one as we celebrate our 10th anniversary, a decade of protecting Jamaica's digital space and empowering our citizens to stay cyber safe. Technology connects us like never before. We bank online, share on social media, and manage entire parts of our lives through our phones and other devices. But as our digital presence grows, so does the need to stay alert and make smart choices online. To help us unpack what that really means, we have an incredible panel of cybersecurity experts joining us today. So first, I'll start with Karishma Raghunath Singh. She's a cybersecurity analyst with the Trinidad and Tobago Cybersecurity Incident Response Team. She specializes in incident response, threat intelligence, and vulnerability management, and has coordinated national cyber drills and ransomware simulations. Karishma is currently pursuing an MSc in cybersecurity and cyberterrorism at the University of Trinidad and Tobago and is passionate about digital forensics, cyber governance, and empowering women in cybersecurity through active involvement in WICYS, WIT, and the Commonwealth Caribbean Cyber Fellowship. Next, I will introduce Rory Banks. He is the Director of Cybersecurity at Simtai Consulting. Rory is a leading cybersecurity expert with over 14 years of experience in information security and IT audits. He holds numerous certifications, including CISSP, CISM, CEH, CSP, CHFI, and many more, making him one of the most credentialed cybersecurity professionals in the Caribbean. Rory has extensive experience in security governance, risk management, incident response, digital forensics, penetration testing, and IT advisory services. Beyond his technical expertise, he serves on advisory committees for the University of Technology Jamaica and the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency, PICA, shaping cybersecurity education and national policy. He has also contributed to the development of globally recognized cybersecurity certification exams. Rory's work uniquely combines hands-on technical leadership with strategic guidance, helping organizations and governments across the region to strengthen their cyber resilience. And last but not least, we have Jervis Debreu. He is a coordinator of the Grenada National CSER. He plays a key role in national cybersecurity coordination, awareness campaigns, and incident management, and strengthening Grenada's cyber resilience. So I'll give him a warm welcome and let's get started. So the first question will go to Rory Banks. So cybersecurity starts with awareness and habits. Let's talk about what simple steps people can take every day. So Rory, what are some simple daily habits people can adopt to stay safe online?
Hi, good morning, everyone. You all hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you. I was a bit muffled, but I can hear you.
Okay. Let me try once more. Oh, no. Any better now?
Yes, a bit better.
All right. So some tips that I normally recommend, and this is just starting very basic, is think about the passwords that you're utilizing. So we normally recommend utilizing strong, complex passwords that may include a minimum of 12 characters, uppercase, lowercase, numbers. Also utilize a passphrase, not necessarily something that's tied directly to yourself or that's linked to like your date of birth, your kids, your family members. Avoid reusing the same password also. So you don't want it to be a case where you have one strong password, but you're utilizing either the same exact password or variations of that password across multiple instances. So to mitigate that, we typically recommend utilizing a password manager or a password vault. So a good password manager would be able to generate the passwords automatically for you. And these will be cryptic, very random passwords. So if you have your Facebook, your Instagram, your online banking platforms, you could generate those passwords that are even 20 characters long. So when I utilize like my password managers, I start at 20 characters and it's very complex, non-recurring numbers and letters. It's very random. And just to add some more layers on top of that, you want to ensure that you have like multi-factor authentication in use. So what multi-factor authentication is, after you enter your password, then to add another layer of protection, either a code is going to be required. So it could be from an authenticator app, or it could be a text message that's sent to your phone number that you have to enter that code. It could be a phone call that you receive. It could be a prompt on your phone or your device that you have to allow. So you have different types of multi-factor authentication. But those are some of the basic things that you can do. It's always recommended to keep your devices up to date. So it could be your apps that's on your mobile device or on your laptop. Also, keep your actual operating systems on those devices up to date also, because that protects you from vulnerabilities. So you have different zero-day vulnerabilities that may exist. And I'm pretty sure we'll speak more on like phishing. So look at the emails that you receive, look at the messages, so the WhatsApp messages, the chat messages, the social media messages. So we normally say like think or look before you click. So don't just click on every link or accept every friend request. And those are some of the good starting points. Other members will add on to that.
Okay, thank you. So Karishma, do you have anything to add?
Sure. So we also want to make sure that you have your stuff backed up as well in the case that you are eventually compromised. We don't say if it will happen, we just say when it will happen. So it's good to have something that is backed up either online on the cloud or even on a USB. In the case of password managers, you want to also look at the websites that you are downloading the password managers from, because it tends to, let's say there was a case recently with LastPass. Users were directed to GitHub and it was telling them to use a command prompt to install LastPass. But that command prompt was leading to a specific type of malware. So what I would say when you are going to employ a password manager, just do your research and make sure that there weren't any breaches with that company before you utilize them.
Okay, thank you. And Jervis, do you have anything to add as well?
Well, I think what was said already is pretty sound, but I just want to add a bit of context to the whole concept of online safety, in that it is not just a personal responsibility. So being safe online is not just about me, it is about community as well. So within the home system, the home structure, you may have parents who understand the need to implement many of the things Rory mentioned. Strong passwords or passphrases. You have your PINs, you have your multi-factor or two-factor authentication verification. You're cautious with your links. You do not enter your credit card, debit card data or information on websites without verifying it. But you did not have a conversation with the youngsters. You did not talk to the children. And especially with us being in October, it's Child Month here in Grenada. I'm not sure what is going on in the other islands. You did not have that conversation with them. And they go online, they're playing games, what have you. People approach them, offering them free Robux. Robux is a big thing. They love real Robux. Some maybe it's the diamonds, they want additional weaponry for the games they're playing. And because you did not let them know, hey, nothing is like in life is free, and not all the people you think you're interacting with, you're actually interacting with them. You now end up possibly being compromised, or your whole network can be compromised based on how robust or how strong it is or weak it is, simply because of that. So I think when we talk online safety, we need to understand that we have to strengthen not just our posture, but that of those around us. Cybersecurity, when it comes to bad actors, they always take the part of least resistance, sorry. So they're going to look for the weakest way to get in, and that is what they're going to exploit. And that is why you need to identify within your circle who is the weakest link. And chances are, if you can't identify who the weakest link is, you may very well be the weakest link. And I'm sure we're going to explore different aspects of it, but I just wanted to plug that in there. It is personal responsibility and community responsibility. I'm not sure if you've heard the saying, but we now normally say my neighbor's rats are my rats. So I could keep my place clean, but if my neighbors, their surrounding is filthy, eventually when the rat's not getting food over there, they're going to come over in my place. And it's the same sort of concept I encourage when it comes to cybersecurity. Do not just assume because you have strengthened your defenses, you're all safe, because there are people who are directly in your circle who may bring down the entire organization, the entire network.
Okay,
I,
thank you.
I wanted to add on to a point that Jervis also just
Problem.
mentioned pertaining to the information and the privacy that you share online. So it's very important for you to be aware of what type of data you're putting out there publicly, how you're sharing it, who you're sharing it with. So like even on social media, you may start posting pictures of your location, of the food that you're eating. I heard a very great point by one of my coworkers before, is that a lot of times person go to a restaurant and take a selfie. While you're taking the selfie, you have your credit card right on the table, and you take the selfie with your credit card details exposing. And to you, you're just making a post that you're eating something, but you're unaware that you have also disclosed sensitive information. And it could even be you're visiting somewhere, you post your live location, things like that. You have to be careful of the type of information that you put out there. Even when you're speaking about your date of birth, everybody posted, yes, I've just celebrated my birthday. I'm now X. Maybe I'm now 40 years old. Everybody know that you turn 40 on this particular date. Your date of birth is 19 or whatever. So, and some of these are your actual security questions. So you have to be aware of the things that you put out there into the public space and domain also, because you do have a major role to play. You can't just depend on the technology aspect, but from the human element, you also have to protect yourself. And even when it comes down to the strong password, so you may set a strong password, but if you write down that password somewhere, or if you put it on your table at home or even on the office, you're kind of defeating the purpose. Yes, you're compliant from a policy perspective of setting a strong password, but if you turn around and write that password down, then you're actually bypassing the entire process.
Okay, thank you for that, Rory. So you touched on social media, so we'll just go into that now. So many of us spend hours on our phones and on social media, which creates unique risk. So, Karishma, what are some red flags to watch out for on social media that may signal a threat?
So usually we say if it's too good to be true, it usually is. So like if you see a Jordans or something selling on social media for a very low price, it could be that it is a scam. You also need to look at the accounts that is posting the item. Um, Most of the times it would have been created within the last week or the last month with a fake photo, a link that redirects you to another page for you to fill out personal information, All these things should be taken into account, especially when you see things that seem too good to be true. Other aspects include like they're trying to get you to click a link to put in your information like urgency, they're trying to play on your emotions, there's misspelling as well in the body of the text. So yeah, those are some red flags you should look out for. If it's someone that you are not really familiar with and they just pop up on your feed, you should also investigate like that's suspicious. You didn't add them. How did they get there? There's also been recently some attachments that they tend to drop in your inbox for you to click to see what it is they are promoting, but it actually leads you to a malicious website. So those are some red flags. So if you're not expecting any attachments from a friend or a coworker or someone, just verify. Always verify. Trust nothing. Always verify.
Okay, thank you. So, Jerry, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So, especially when it comes to, well, they call it the old people social media platform, Facebook, for instance. The youngsters, uh, they say they're not really on there, but we know some of them are on there. One of the things that I realize people fail to check is the age of the page, even if there were name changes on the page, because some bad actors they repurpose their pages. So they may have a page that was peddling baby products 5 years ago, and now they're selling vehicles. Look at where those pages are being administrated from. So if it is, let's say, some credit union based in Trinidad, I'm not sure why it should be showing that it's administrated from the African continent or some place in Asia. That right there is a red flag. And then you need to pay attention to the content that is there as well. So if there are too little pictures, you should be concerned. And if there are too many pictures that are trying too hard to prove whatever it is they're saying, then you should be concerned as well. And I say that against the backdrop of romance scams, where you have these fake profiles being created, and the bad actor or the malicious person assumes the persona of a army person, someone in the military, and you'd find several pictures posted there to show that the person is in the military. But if you take a closer look at it, you'd realize that, listen, it's AI content. There's so many similarities between the different ones that are there, and so forth. But pretty pictures tend to create a lot of problems, both on the male and the female side. So again, you need to just take a step back and assess that through more critical eyes. Karishma mentioned it, but I want to touch on it again because it's not just about social interactions, but even business interactions. How was the initial contact made? All right. How was it made? And sometimes they say, oh, they got your information from wherever, wherever. Well, did you give that information there? Did you give permission for that information to be shared? And if you didn't, then that in itself is a red flag. And I think, at the end of the day, our gut, sometimes we talk about the gut feeling and people just brush it aside. But I think for many people, from where I sit, after they've fallen victim to some of these scams, and you tell them, hey, look, these are all the red flags that were there. And they may say, something did not feel right, but they still went ahead. And I think at the very core of all of these things is the problem of oversharing. And Rory mentioned that we put too much information out there, not realizing that people can piece all that together And now they know how old we are, how many children we have, where the children go to school, maybe even our financial status based on, some of the things that we put out there. And that creates a serious problem for us.
Thank you, Mr. Jervis. Rory, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I do have a few. So all great points thus far. And how I look on social media is that you should also think about what social media platforms are you going to be utilizing. Jervis mentioned Facebook for the elderly folks, but everybody still may have a Facebook account. And especially how it's integrated, where you have Facebook integrated with Instagram through Meta and all of these things. So you may inadvertently utilizing Instagram primary, but you still have a Facebook account or you have an old account there. If you're not maintaining those accounts, someone could try and gain access to those accounts because maybe you had an old password that wasn't synced to it. There's various techniques and ways. Be careful of the friend requests that you accept. You may see a lot of requests coming in from random persons or even people that you think you know, or they may pretend to create a persona that, yes, I used to go to school with you. I'm just reaching out and then casually starting a conversation. Be careful of how you interact with those persons. Even on LinkedIn, you still have to be careful. So persons may try to send you a friend request and say, yes, we want to do business with you. And during that conversation, they say, yes, let's have a meeting at X date. I will send you an email. So please accept this meeting invite, asking you for your email address and then sending you a malicious link or a malicious attachment that pretends to be an Outlook or a Teams meeting. So these are different ways and techniques that they can also utilize to try and pretty much compromise you. So you have to screen all of those different friend requests that are out there. In terms of the types of messages, even the types of posts that some of these different entities or persons that you're following. So be careful of the pages that you follow. I know there are certain pages that the Jamaican persons may follow, like a pink wall, or you have some of these other types of pages that they do post very suspicious activities, and because you want to see that information as they post it, you click on the link and you say, yes, I want to see this because it's cutting edge, it's the latest news. Persons may compromise their account and post illegitimate information. And because you're following that page continuously, you don't even screen the links that they post or the videos. You just say, yes, it's from this particular page, and you want to see the information. So be careful of even the quote unquote legitimate pages that you follow, because even them can get compromised. Or in some instances, they even sell their accounts and then convert that account to now launch an attack against you because they have so many followers. You can even look at like the pages that are verified. So you could start using that as screening persons of the pages that you want to follow or the persons that you want to follow. But again, it comes down to you being very careful and also very observant in terms of who you interact with, what you share, what links you click on, or what videos you try to watch, and just take that first step in terms of being cautious when it comes out to social media.
Okay,
If
thank you.
if I if I may add something as well,
No problem.
because Rory touched on it, but it is a serious thing right now, where you can find yourself being penalized based on who you associate with on social media. In 2019, when the US passed their first set of laws pertaining to online and social media vetting, it came across pretty strict, but we see what was done earlier this year, and it's a whole different thing. So you need to be careful that you do not join some of these groups and add some of these people as friends, understanding that with them hiding behind fake profile, oftentimes it is because they are about cyberbullying people, spreading disinformation, misinformation, fake news, whichever way you want to look at it. And just like that, you could be a party to these crimes. And while you have a right to freedom of speech, understand that there are consequences that comes with it as well. I often say online actions have offline consequences, and not getting a visa to go to the US may very well be one of those consequences simply because of who you associate with online and some of the things that they share. Karishma had pointed out, and Rory re-emphasized it as well, the dangers in the links. But I also want to point out the files as well. As it is right now, it is possible to embed malware or to digitally poison just about any file format, with probably the exception of a .txt file, which is a little bit more difficult to accomplish. So you think about audio files, music, movies, pictures, the productivity files. So your PowerPoint, your PDF, your Excel, your document, all these files can be laced with malware. And if the intention is to compromise your device, then the first step is to trust. Have you trust them or trust the entity enough to be following them, to like them, to accept them, and then they drop that in your messaging app or in Facebook, WhatsApp, what have you. You click your download and you end up in a world of problems. So understand that in some cases, these bad actors, they play the long game. And I think what need to be kept in check is your curiosity, and you need to ensure that there is a healthy dose of suspicion, especially when you didn't go looking for friendship and it came knocking on your digital door.
Thank you, Jervis. Very good point. So, Jervis, you spoke about your neighbor's rats being your rats to affect you. So, as you know, cybersecurity isn't just individual, it's families, schools, communities, that everyone plays a role. What role can community groups or schools play in promoting cybersecurity awareness?
Well, at the end of the day, right, I spoke about the weakest link, and in some homes, the children are the weakest link. Cybersecurity is not a purchase, and that is something that it takes quite a bit of pounding to get it into some thick skulls. You can't go to a tech shop and purchase a cybersecurity, and that is it. Right, because at the end of the day, the human beings using the technology, they can mess up. What you want is to ultimately develop a culture of cybersecurity. And if we're to do that, if we're to have a cyber smart population, then it starts as young as in the preschool, in the primary schools, right? Having the youngsters understand, as I said before, nothing in life is free. Be careful of the clicks and all these sort of things. If you need to bust your tail to go through the levels in the game, do that. Cheats, hacks, cracks, patches, that's how bad actors can get in on the device. We have to understand it's all of society thing right now. I think even within some workplaces, cybersecurity is left up to the IT department. So Simtai is going to get some blowback because they're going to say, hey, well, you're supposed to be securing the environment. True, but you as the human being, you're supposed to also do what you need to do, right? Within the church family and different community groups, the same approach need to be taken. Everybody have to get on board with this. Cybersecurity is the new tourism. It is everybody's business, right? And as I said, the weakest link is the link that is going to be exploited. And this is where the concept again of my neighbor's rats being my rat comes in. Because if you identify within your home, within your organization, what have you, that there is one person who is struggling to just keep track of their passwords, it would make good sense to sit with that person and get them to understand how to use a password manager, get them comfortable with it, because they may be the one who bring down the entire organization. I'm not sure how many may have heard of the KNP situation KNP is, was a logistics company in the UK. They existed for 158 years. So they've been around since long before the world was everything. They went from one cart and horse to having over 500 trucks, 700 employees. And in June, I believe, of this year, one weak password led to a ransomware attack that they have not been able to recover from. They had insurance, they had good cyber infrastructure, but somebody in there just was not about practicing good cyber hygiene. And the company is no more. When £5 million was demanded as a ransom to regain access, they didn't have that kind of money. And they went out of business. Now, I think it's very unfair to the 699 other persons employed within the organization that one person fell. But I also think if one of the 699 had taken the time to sit with that one, it may not have occurred. Cybersecurity is a all of community issue, and everybody have to have their hands on deck in this regard, or we're going to have problems.
Thank you. Karishma, do you have anything to add?
I do. So yeah, to just emphasize what Mr. W said, it is a community issue and it's something that not much people talk about. So if let's say you have a community group, feel free to make another one concerning cybersecurity. Get the word out there because it's not just the kids alone on the mobile phones and on the devices. It's elderly persons as well who want to speak to their kids abroad. It's the 3-year-old on their tablet. You can't tell them, well, a 3-year-old what to do, but you need to make the parents aware of things that are happening online. And I think promoting awareness in schools is a step forward because kids are able to absorb more information quickly. And at the end of the day, the person configuring the parent's phone is probably their kids. So you're covering your bases there. So it's inculcated into the kids, transferred to the parents, and also when the kids have their own offspring, it will be let's say muscle memory for them or something that they passed on for generations that this is a best practice. So I just wanted to emphasize that it starts with the young ones as well as the older ones just to promote that generational flow and extension of knowledge.
Thank you. So, Rory, what would you say to someone who believes they're not important enough to be a cyber attack target?
Before I move on to that, I wanted to touch on
Oh, okay, no
recommendation
problem.
when it comes out for the community awareness, and everything that we just covered is very important, and especially with the culture and having programs in place for the kids and the elderly. But one of the things that when I think back to when I was first introduced to cybersecurity, it was close to when I was in college officially. So yes, I would have been doing my things on my own, but officially it's literally when I was in college. That's when I started to do my first cybersecurity course. That has to change. We have to introduce cybersecurity, not just IT as a module, but we have to introduce cybersecurity as an actual module or course earlier into the education system. Maybe even have at a CXC level a cybersecurity course. And the earlier we start to formalize and introduce cybersecurity, the better we will be in terms of being cyber safe. Another approach that we could also take is instead of having us teaching students, why not have students teaching students or peers teaching peers? Similar to even elderly folks, have someone with a cybersecurity knowledge and background within the same age group teaching them also, because it will become more relatable. So I think those are two tips or approaches that we could also utilize to kind of get the message out there better. Because we won't know some of the TikToks or their approaches. I hear this six, seven. I don't even know what that is, but that's a trend on TikTok now. If they themselves can also be aware of some of the cybersecurity tips and challenges and communicate in those jargons, it may be easier for them to communicate and get that buy-in from them, the importance of cybersecurity. So I definitely think that's a mindset that we can try to implement and see if there will be a change. But back to your other question about what if we're not a target, or you think that we're not a target.
Not
Um,
important enough to be a
sorry, repeat yourself, so.
uh, who what would you say to someone who believes that they're not important enough to be a cyber attack target?
Right, and that's a very bad mindset because anyone can be a target. Jervis gave a great example where one person within an organization had a weak password and they were compromised, and that affected the entire company. A lot of times when we're doing our social engineering exercises or security awareness training, we target the weakest link. So once you have a digital footprint or a IT access, we can target that person. It could be a janitor with an email address. We will target them and gain an initial foothold into the network. Once we gain that initial foothold, then we can start escalating privileges, traversing through the network. So everybody has a role to play in cybersecurity. Another view is that hackers don't care who they get money from or where. Money is money to them. If they're getting $100 from the CEO or $100 from a employee that's a cashier, it's still $100. So they will target every on anybody. So everybody has that role to play when it comes down to cybersecurity, and you have to protect your information. Don't look on it and say that, oh, no one wants my information, or no one wants to gain access to my account, or I am not a target because I am old. You can't take that mindset because we have seen elderly folks getting attacked. We've seen children accounts getting taken over and then leveraging that access to target everybody else within their space. A good example is even targeting you, gaining access to your WhatsApp, and because you are a friend with a CEO at a company, they now leverage that access or that information to target someone else down the line. So you in yourself may think that you won't be a direct target, but indirectly that would be like a supply chain attack, targeting someone else smaller and then pivoting to a bigger compromise. But if you don't protect your information and if you don't think that it's important, then why don't you just share your information with everybody? Why don't you just share your access to your bank account with everybody? If you don't think that if you think that you're too small, if you won't do that, then that means you have something to protect, right? Don't you lock your front door at nights? Don't you put on the grill at nights? That means you have something to protect your physical, your assets. So everybody has some form of asset or access that a hacker would want to gain access to.
Thank you for that response. Jervis, do you have anything to add?
I just want to add one little thing to what Rory said, because I mean the example he gave is perfect. If you have nothing to hide, just put everything out there. But there are many people who say I'm a nobody. I'm not the prime minister. I'm not a minister of government or so. So why should they come after me? And I'm not looking at all the things that Rory pointed out in terms of the finances and so. I'm looking now at identity theft and identity fraud. If you show up on the airport pretending to be the prime minister of any of the Caribbean islands, well, something has to be really wrong with you, right? You're going to get picked up just like that because these faces are well known. But if you pretend to be somebody, some little person who hasn't even left the country, what have you, since they were born, chances are you may get away with it because that person is not as out there as a government official, what have you. And I think that is why the whole concept of data protection and getting people to understand that if you are not well known, your identity may be more valuable to the bad actors than the people who are well known, When we get that through their heads, then they'll realize, hey, listen, nobody is off limit, right? As Rory said, the bad actors, it doesn't matter if it is the last $20 you have to buy 1 pound of sugar. If they can take it, they'll take it. You go hungry, they don't care. There is no ethics, there is no morality, there is no regard for the rule of law. Whatever means they need to get whatever they want to get from you, they're going to explore that, right? And don't think for a moment that you do not have something that bad actors want. If you do not have money, you have data, you have information, you have an identity, and that can be monetized.
Thank you for that response, Jarvis. Karishma, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. A lot of times we think that the threat actors just want money from us, but sometimes they just want to disrupt services. They just want to show that they could do something. And we need to remember that it's their day job to sit behind a computer and just look for devices that are easy pickings, to say, look, I did this, post it, get fame for it. It's not always about the money, and we need to keep that in the back of our heads as well as we go on.
Thank you. Okay, so time is going down. So this is our last question. I don't want to stay here all day, but time. So let's talk about thinking like a cyber aware person. So Karishma, stay with you. What's the difference between being private online and being secure online?
So a lot of us tend to, well, privacy is just what preventing persons from viewing what you are doing. So a lot of us tend to think that, okay, I open a private browser, I can scroll, I can look up any topics I want to look up. All well and good, but that private browser only prevents the website from storing your history. It does not prevent the service provider to seeing what you search up or what you look for on the website. You can be private, but you could be not secure at the same time. So you could be on a private browser. However, you're using an email and the password to that email is password 123, password 1, etc. Your account is not secure. You could still be hidden, but you do not have that layer of protection when it comes to email or whatever account you have on that device. So being secure and being private is not the same thing.
Thank you. Jarvis, do you have anything to add?
I'm going to go back to Rory's analogy of the house. All right. If you're inside the house and all the curtains are drawn, there is a level of privacy. But if there is no lock on the door, there is no security, right? And that is exactly what Karishma pointed out, right? There is also this fallacy, this kind of crazy thinking that just because I'm hiding behind a fake profile, or I'm using some, avatar, what have you, that no one can tell who I am, or identify me, not realizing that being completely invisible, or cloaked, it takes quite a bit of work, right? From browser fingerprinting to the ISPs tracking you, to a lot of the other little bits and pieces that we interact with. There are many ways that people can actually tell who you are, right? So don't believe just because there is a fake profile you can say and do whatever. But I think the security aspect is what is key here. I would prefer that you be secure and open in terms of, everybody can see your profile, which means you're not as secure that as you think you are. But I would say err on that side. So the profile is not restricted to just a few persons, but there is a strong passphrase. There is two-factor authentication. There is the checking of the links before you click on them. There is caution when interacting with attachments and so forth. That mindset And of course, if that is the mindset, then you'd realize, hey, I do need to restrict you know, some people from seeing my stuff. I don't need to be everywhere, the drum beats, right? There are times when maybe that platform is just not for me. But somebody sent a question. I think it came directly to me asking, how do you fact check a shopping site to know if it is legit? What are some of the characteristics to look for? And that was Joanna Paul. Well, part of the answer goes back to what Karishma said, I think, at the beginning. If it comes across too good to be true, then you may be looking at a scam. So you have a 2024 vehicle that normally sells for about 40,000 US dollars, and it's being sold to you for 10,000 US dollars. I mean, something should just tell you something is not right there. All right. I normally tell people I don't know who is cheaper than Shein and Temu, but people still find sites that are cheaper than those. I mean, and you go to the sites like wish.com to buy a smartphone and you expect the thing to work. You crazy, right? So not all deals are good deals. There are also sites like virustotal.com, virustotal.com, that is going to give you some indication as to whether or not that site has been flagged as malicious. Scam Advisor, they do a pretty good thing. Get Safe Online, they have a check tool as well, check.getsafeonline.org. I think within your space, you may have a cybersecurity agency or CERT that you can reach out to. But where did you find that site? How old is that site? Who else knows about that site? What are the offerings? And so these are some of the things that you could look at. The problem with that is that means you have already accessed the site. And if that site has malware embedded on it, then we have a bigger problem now than just what is being offered to you, because you may already have a compromised device.
Okay, thank you, Jervis. Rory, do you have anything to add?
About the privacy versus security.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And
I think
and the shopping thing. You have to comment on the shopping thing too. So don't try to knock that one.
all right. So in terms of the privacy versus security, it's a big misconception that, and I think you both have touched it very clearly, that just because you're private or hiding on the internet, you think that you're secure. But privacy is what you're showing, or what's visible. But security is really having the defense in depth in terms of protecting your assets, ensuring that no unauthorized person can access that information that you have, or that account that you have. When you look at it from like a social media perspective also, again, you can be private where you restrict who can follow you, what information you're putting out there. But if you're protecting that with a weak password, and that password 123 that Karishma gave the example of, we still have people using those passwords. We still have passwords like admin, 12345 6. I'm still being on engagements where those are the passwords that are protecting assets, protecting printers, protecting routers, switches on network. And I know that persons are still using those weak passwords and credentials. Another misconception is that even if you're compliant, it still doesn't mean that you will never get hacked or get broken into. Because we have seen organized, and this is at the organization or the business level, where organizations are compliant in ISO, GDPR, the JDPA, all of these different frameworks, and we still see that they get hacked. So yes, you have to take due diligence and be careful. What I would say is try to practice both. Try to practice both privacy and security. And that's just you trying to minimize the footprint that you have across the internet. That's also you trying to have a defense in-depth approach. So multiple layers of security in protecting your digital footprint. because you may think that using that incognito browser or using Brave or or a Tor browser that you don't have any footprint or any evidence or you logging out of Google or Gmail when you're going to browse. Yes, those are good practices, but every single asset that you touch, there is a digital footprint. It may not be accessible on the internet, but if we get physical access to that laptop that you use to log into those devices or access that information, or I think Karishma also gave the example about going to the ISPs, the ISP will be able to see the traffic. Yeah, we have even seen cases where they're tracking blockchain or cryptocurrencies transaction, and that in itself is a decentralized setup where there should not be any evidence or trace of who did the transaction. But instead of tracking the person, they're tracking the types of transactions, the amount of transactions. So they have different ways in which you can correlate all of these information, all of these different logs from different sources. And don't just think about it from your perspective. Think about the ISP, think about the transnational organizations that are going to be working together to now correlate all of the information to pinpoint who did this activity. We have seen even cases like during COVID, persons posting about the Prime Minister on Instagram and saying, hey, I'm not going in. And a few minutes later, they triangulated where they were based on the picture, based on the information that you posted. And again, you still have to be very careful. When it comes down to like safe browsing now, if the deal is really that enticing, or if you think that you're going to save X amount of money by going to this website, do you really think that by you saving $300 or $200, is it worth it? Because if you're asking the question, how can I know that this site is legitimate? That means you already have a little doubt in it. So I would say stay with the trusted websites that you know. If you want to get a deal, I don't really like to use eBay and stuff like that because you still don't know what you're getting, but you could negotiate on eBay, Alibaba, if you want to get those discounts or deals, but go to your Amazon, those trusted websites. In the local space, I know there are marketplaces also. So you have even like your Facebook marketplace. I know Seven Curve have a marketplace, your Cool Market. You can access deals through those spaces, but again, you do not know who you're interacting with. Because the buyer could say that they have this item, maybe they created a fictitious account, started building up some reputation, and then they say, hey, I have an iPhone 17 selling for $500. And when you verify the account, you see that yes, the reputational score is high, but would someone really be selling an iPhone 17 that was just released that officially is for 1,000 or over $1,000 for $500? That seems too good to be true. You can use sometimes you can just use your common sense and say, okay, this deal is too appealing. Maybe you get an iPhone 17, but maybe it's a version that is not compatible with your market, or it has an iOS version on it that is not a real iOS version, or it comes with certain vulnerabilities on it that when you access that device, you get compromised. So sometimes you have to look at the risk and the reward and see, is it really worth my effort to go to a neighborhood that I know has bad neighbors or bad persons there just to save $100 or just to save $200? Is that really worth it? A lot of times it makes more sense for you to just spend that additional money to know that you're safe, protected, and you have a little comfort or peace of mind. Just try and stay far from those bad neighborhoods and those websites that, and again, attackers can clone websites and let it look legitimate, and you think that you're visiting the real site. But if it's a new website or a new page that was created and they're having these types of deals, just do your due diligence and don't necessarily visit or spend your money on those sites. Or if you're going to spend your money, don't do a transfer directly. Maybe use a credit card because you can always query those type of transaction. It's technically not your money, but it's a credit where the bank will have to honor it and they can do the investigation. So be very wary. I know online shopping, especially Christmas is coming up, Thanksgiving is coming up. Lots of deals are going to be going around. Even in the local space, we will be seeing offers, Black Friday deals, TV for $100 or $200 for this big TV. Sometimes they're really just trying to trick you. It's not necessarily a deal.
Thank you, Rory, for that answer. So, unfortunately, we are out of time and unable to do any more questions. But thank you to our panelists. I learned so much. I'm sure everybody learned a lot as well for sharing their expertise and practical tips. And thank everyone here for joining this important discussion as a part of our Cybersecurity Awareness Month activities. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and everyone, please have a good day and stay safe.
Bye. Take
All right, bye
care.
everyone. Thank you for joining.
And be safe, yeah?
Definitely.